So, welcome along to number 8 of the Pixiecast, and I'm certainly taking the longest trip that I've taken so far, literally going to the other side of the world, about 11,500 miles from the UK, or if you prefer kilometres, about 18,000 miles, and you will see the smiling face there in the screen of Gail White. Gail, hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. It's great
That's
to have
good.
you along, and thank you for giving up some of your time. So
Oh,
it's
I'm very
just
excited.
gone 9 o'clock in the morning here on Thursday. So what time is it with you over there?
So it's about 10 past 8 at night on Thursday here.
I'm not keeping you from your dinner, am I? I hope.
No, it's
No,
very organised. I've cooked my dinner. I've eaten. I've
excellent.
perched myself in my bedroom. There's a reason. I know most other people would probably put themselves at desks and stuff, but I've got my dogs here with me so that
Oh,
they
okay.
don't annoy me.
Yeah, yeah.
And so if you hear snoring in the background, that's the pug.
Okay.
So
I've
yeah,
seen a photo of one of your dogs. Yeah, the white one. I think I've seen some photos
yeah.
so you got two dogs. What breeds are the dogs then?
So Princess is a Maltese, and
Yeah,
she's about
that's the white one. Yeah,
that's the white one. Yep.
yeah.
So she's about 12 years old,
Very
and
cute.
Charlie is my pug, and I've only had him for a couple of years. So I inherited him when friends of mine moved back to Australia.
Okay.
And he's about 10, I think.
Right.
So
Okay.
they're quite senior citizens, my
Yeah, yeah.
dogs.
But they
But
get on well together, do they?
oh, they love each other. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's great because they've got company during the day, and but yeah, they're a little bit needy. They're a little bit spoiled.
Yeah. I know what that's like with Tilly. I'm sure you've seen photos of Tilly
I have seen
on their
Tilly. She's
Facebook.
beautiful.
Yeah, she is beautiful, yeah, but she likes a lot of attention, bless her.
Yeah.
So you're on the North Island of New Zealand. Of
Yes.
course, New Zealand split into two islands. Do you want to tell us a little bit about where you live?
Yep. So I live quite far up north of the North Island.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called Whangarei. It's
Mm-hmm.
about 75,000 people in our
Okay.
town.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's probably the last big city before you get right up to the top of New Zealand, up
Yeah, I
to
think
Cape Reinga.
Wikipedia says it's the most northerly city in New Zealand,
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
yeah. So beautiful location. We've got lots of amazing beaches and waterfalls, and I mean we're very blessed where
Some
we
of your
live.
photos that you post on social media are absolutely stunning.
Oh,
I'm
thank you.
really quite envious of where you are,
Yeah,
because I know you're often out early in the morning and taking photos of dolphins and things like that
yeah.
in the sea, and it just looks absolutely
Oh, it's
beautiful where
amazing.
you are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, we're very lucky. Lots of nice walking spots. So obviously, I like to take the dogs out for a walk and stuff. And yeah, so it's, the climate here is quite. They say it's the winterless north up here because it's quite tropical.
Okay.
I'd say it's kind of on a par. Well, I say Melbourne, but having lived in Melbourne, I know Melbourne gets a lot colder than it does here.
Right.
But we've got that same. In winter, it probably only gets down to the lowest is probably about 3 or 4 degrees,
Okay.
generally speaking,
Yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah.
morning. If it's really cold, it'll get down to like 1,
Okay.
but
So
it's not that cold.
you don't get many frosts and things like that
No,
then,
not a lot. I mean,
unless
this
you go
year
up in the mountains.
and this year we hardly had any frost. So yeah, it seems to be getting winter seems to be getting warmer with
Mm-hmm.
good old climate
Global
change
warming.
and
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and summer, we get up to probably mid-30s, I suppose,
Okay.
degrees Celsius.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's quite warm in summer.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite muggy, so it's quite humid up this end of the country.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's a beautiful place to live. It's got everything you need. We're close to Auckland, so you can get to the big city if you need to. And but yeah, it's just it's a lovely place.
And Auckland being the largest city population-wise in New Zealand.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of million people, I think. I think
Mm-hmm.
we're 5 million in New Zealand. So I think but a lot of them are in Auckland.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, which has quite changed. I grew up in Auckland, so I went to primary
Okay.
school in Auckland, which
Yeah.
is I'm not sure what your schools are, but you know, first school that you go to.
Yeah, so we call them primary schools, yeah.
Yeah.
And then secondary school, which is you tend to go 11, 12 years of age up to secondary school.
Yeah, yeah. So we're kind of the same. We have a silly school in the middle called intermediate, which is when you're
Okay.
11, 12. So you go from primary to intermediate, and then you go to secondary school after
Right.
that.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I grew up primary school in Auckland, but it's much different, much different now. It's a lot more metropolitan. So,
sure.
yeah.
And do you prefer the big city, or do you prefer more of a sort of rural, or, well, you're by the sea, aren't you? But do you prefer sort of being out
Yeah.
of the big city?
I did the big city. So
Yeah.
I lived in Melbourne for 15 years,
Oh, it
and
is a big city,
it's a big city. So Auckland's actually quite small compared to Melbourne. And then I did Brisbane for 2 years, which is different again. It's quite a different city to live in to Melbourne. So I came home to kind of not get away from it, because I loved the city life. I loved Melbourne. Melbourne is very close to my heart. I've got lots of family that still live there. And yeah, but I just wanted that laid back lifestyle when I came back. So
Excellent.
I headed up here, and yeah.
So if you want to go and see Pixies when they're touring around the world and they come to New Zealand, I guess you have to head down to Auckland, do you?
Yep. That's a trip down to Auckland. So I've seen them twice in Auckland now. Saw them when they came. I think it was 2018. I think.
Yeah.
18, and then obviously I saw them this year, which was amazing. And
one of the lucky ones to see them this year with the year that we've had.
Well, I saw them twice, Andrew. I was super lucky.
Very lucky.
Yeah, I saw them in Auckland, and then I stayed at my friend's place for a couple of nights, and then I hopped on an airplane and I went to Melbourne, and saw them in Melbourne as well, which was a totally different experience to seeing them in Auckland.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why was that then?
Auckland was a standing gig.
Okay.
So it was I was super lucky. I got to meet up with a lot of other members of our Pixies group when I went to Auckland. So obviously Terence, the legend that is Terence, and Liz, and Trenton, and Mark, and Shanine, and a whole lot of other people. Sorry if I missed anyone, guys.
Okay.
So I was super lucky to meet up with them, and they were all right up the front. So I went with friends of mine, and we kind of stood up the front. Yeah. But once the music started, we were like 2 rows back, and we weren't against the barrier.
Okay. Yeah.
That was, I'm too old for that. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
But I stuck it out for probably about 4 or 5 songs, and I was actually terrified I was going to get squashed, because I'm quite short.
Yeah, and you have to get your elbows out. That's what you need to do, just like.
I was trying. Well, the friends that I went with, my friend Haley, who's been my best friend for a long time, her husband Rob is actually a cop, and a policeman, and he is so massive. And they had to. We all had to get out, and we actually went and stood down the back, because it was just so hot and claustrophobic, and I was just actually getting crushed. So but it didn't spoil the gig at all. I actually enjoyed it a lot more once I got down the back, because I could focus on the music and I wasn't worried about trying to stand up. So but I have to say that it was amazing, like amazing show. I really enjoyed it. I think it was better than 2018 when I saw them.
Okay.
And I was also lucky enough to see them in 2010 at Festival Hall in Melbourne.
Okay.
So that was the first time.
You're good at remembering your dates. I can never remember the years or dates and that I've seen them, but carry on.
I had to do a refresher on that one, because I was talking to someone about it actually not that long ago, and I had to Google it to see what date it was they played. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 2010. And the funny thing is, every time I've seen them has been in March, and basically around the same date in March. So I don't know what's going on with that, but that's a bit freaky. But yeah, so I was lucky that I've got to see them 3 times not as lucky as you guys. Obviously, being in Europe, you get to
Well,
see
it's a
them.
bit easier for us, really.
Yeah, yeah. Bands don't like to come here so much. So, but yeah, no, I was super, super privileged. And then, of course, I went to Melbourne, and we had a little mini happening in Melbourne, which was awesome. So I got to meet up with quite a few of the Melbourne Pixies members.
Yeah.
Which was really cool. And Michael and Venetia came down from Brisbane, and caught up with them, which is another funny story because my son, who moved to Brisbane at the end of last year, he decided to move out of home. So he's 21 and all grown up now. And he actually lives with Michael and Venetia's 2 sons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So they've all known each other since high school.
Yeah.
So,
oh, lovely.
Yeah. So yeah, small world. And but yeah, Melbourne was totally different because it was a sit down show. So it was all seated.
Okay. Yeah.
So and it was a lot more intimate.
Yeah.
So it wasn't an arena show like Auckland was. So it was quite a different listening experience.
Yeah. And just polite clapping.
Yeah, there was to start with, and it wasn't until about sort of probably even halfway through before people actually got up and started, moving around and things like that. And it was just at the start of all this COVID thing as well. Like we hadn't. When I left New Zealand to go on holiday, I went to Melbourne for a week, and there were no cases of COVID in New Zealand. And by the time I got back, there was 11.
Yeah.
And I tested positive.
Oh, wow.
2 weeks after that.
Okay.
Obviously got it coming back from Melbourne. So, and by the time I tested positive, I think I was number 65 in New Zealand.
Right. Okay.
And then, of course, it just kind of took off a bit after that. And everything went weird, and we all went into lockdown.
And were you quite ill yourself, or
no?
So what, you were asymptomatic, as they say, were you?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
But I was, by the time I'd done that, and we'd actually been through our first lockdown, which was a proper lockdown.
Yeah.
I think I'd been at home for 9 weeks by that time.
Okay.
So yeah, I was a bit over it by then. But I mean, we've been really fortunate here that we haven't had the same sort of outbreak, especially like Melbourne is at the moment.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I think you seem to have cracked it pretty early on, really. And
we did. And whatever.
I think a lot of countries are a bit jealous of your prime minister as well. She seems pretty effective, and most people seem to like her.
Yeah, she is. I love her. And it's not even about politics. I just like her as a human. I just think that she's she's a good leader, and down to earth, and we're pretty lucky when I look around the world at what's going on. And
So are you back in lockdown now as well? Because I know there has been a bit of a second wave, hasn't there? So are you
there
have
was
you been working from home, or
no, I've been going to work. We're still in level 2. So level 2 is pretty much you can still go to work, and the kids are still going to school. It's just you're not allowed to have gatherings of more than 100 people.
Oh, okay. Right.
Still just we don't have to wear masks or anything like that, but just you still have to stand in a queue to go into the supermarket. So there's only so many people in there at one time and things. But Auckland's coming out of there. They were in a stage 3 lockdown until last week. So kids were home from school, people were working from home again. But yeah, they've sort of come out of that. They're at what they call 2.5 at the moment. So hopefully it's all back under control now.
Cool. And so back to the Pixies then. When did it all begin for you?
Oh, wow. When I was 18, I think. I was a bit of a slow learner. And my boyfriend at the time introduced me to Pixies, and he played Where Is My Mind? That was the first Pixies song that I heard.
Good way to start.
I always feel a bit cheesy about it, because it kind of became the commercial song, but it's still got a very
a place in your heart.
special place in my heart because it was
Yeah.
my first Pixies song. But yeah, I just loved it. Yeah, and then we got the album and started listening to you know, a lot more of their music, and it just resonated with me. The music, yeah, I it's hard to explain, but just became something that was ingrained in my, you know, everyday kind of listening. And there's not a lot of bands that I feel that way about.
No.
So yeah,
So Where Is My Mind is where it all started,
that's where it all started. Yep.
and been a fan ever since.
I have been a fan ever since. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, you kind of, they're just one of those bands that keep coming back. You keep coming back to. So, you know, I think after I went on this big Pixies binge for you know, a good probably 5 years while I was younger, then I sort of drifted away from them and then came back to them again. And then when they, you know, released the newer albums like Head Carrier and things like that, of course,
Yeah.
you kind of come back into it
Mm-hmm.
again.
Yeah.
And yeah, then I joined the group after I went to the 2018 show. I sort of searched on Facebook and I thought there must be a group of fans out there somewhere.
Someone must have come up with the idea. Yeah.
Someone must have come up with the idea. And I suppose it was a lot smaller back then. So I joined it just before the Friends of Pixies group was made. So that gives you a rough sort of time frame on it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And when, wow, these are my people. I found my people.
You found your family.
Yeah. And it's been great. And I know I'm a bit of a lurker, you know, I'm not as active as other people are, but I watch and I read and I feel and I, you know, it's strange to be, I've never really been a big online person like that. So
you're too busy taking those beautiful photos of where you live.
Yeah, well, I do prefer to meet people in person. So this is, and it's the only group I belong to where I've got like so many friends, like actual Facebook friends from the group. Like I wouldn't do that in any other group. It's just feels completely natural.
Yeah, that's I've said a couple of times during these. It is something very special, I think, about the Pixies group and the Friends of Pixies group and that as well, isn't it? That you know, Pixie White has created something very special for us, and I'm sure she never imagined it was going to be like this at all.
No, and I've watched the happenings in Vegas and you know, Manchester and stuff. I was like, oh, I'm so jealous, and that's my bucket list. Like that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
If the world ever opens up again, is, you know, and I'm sure everybody feels like that, you know, at the moment. But that's what I want to do. I just want to go to a happening.
Sure.
And so go and see the Pixies.
Have you travelled further afield than Australia and New Zealand? It's difficult being where you are. I know with an Australian wife, it's such a long haul to get anywhere, isn't it?
It is, and no, I haven't. I'm dying to go to Europe. I guess I was quite a young mum. And I went to Australia on my big overseas adventure, and that was where I was going to start. And I was going to go backpacking, and I've had these grand plans, and then I was going to go to Europe after that, and then got pregnant. And
bit of a life changer, that.
It was a bit of a life changer, and ended up there. And that was kind of the end of it. And then I was a single mum for quite a many years. So I didn't start traveling until I was, you know, probably in my 30s, really. Whereas
I mean,
all my friends...
New Zealand must be a beautiful place to visit. Haven't got there yet, but
oh, you must come.
And of course, Australia is quite large as well to get around. So.
Yeah, you can. There's a lot to do here. There's a lot to see, and the South Island is. And I say this, but I haven't even been to the South Island. You know, like I grew up here, but I've never been. And I've got friends that are down there at the moment, and it's just amazing. And so that's where I'm going next. somewhere I can actually travel. But
Sure.
yeah, you know, I've been to Bali, and I've been to Fiji, and been
Oh,
to
okay. Yeah.
Rarotonga and all the close places, but
Yeah.
nowhere to Sumatra. That was an experience.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but not over to your side of the world yet.
Well, there's always a bedroom here for you if you ever want to come
Oh,
to sunny Devon as well. So you'd
thank
always be
you.
very welcome. And I know
Oh,
that
I'd
other
love
people
to.
in the group will make you very welcome in that whatever part of the UK they're in. So hopefully you will come over at some stage.
Oh, I will.
So a favourite Pixies track, is it possible for you to just pick out one? I know you've already mentioned Where Is My Mind has a special place in your heart.
It does, and it's so hard. And I knew you were going to ask, because you've asked everybody else, and I really, really thought about it, and I'm just like, oh, I can't pick, but I do.
What's your favourite album then?
I'm a Doolittle
Brilliant.
person. I'm heart and soul Doolittle.
Yeah.
Surfer Rosa is probably the next favorite after that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey is a song that I love.
Mm-hmm.
Debaser,
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so hard. When I say that, I feel like I'm cheating on the other songs. You know,
I've got to be
and
tough
just,
when you go. You've got to come up with one.
oh, I know, but it's so hard.
And then after this interview, you'll think, "Oh no, I wish I'd said that other one or whatever." So
Yeah.
everyone has said that to me. It depends what day of the week it is, and it
Yeah,
changes.
well, it's true, and these were not my favorite song. You know, like I went through the stage where I loved "Here Comes Your Man" and the, you know, the
Yeah.
more kind of rhythmic
Yeah.
songs, if you
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
But then once you become a bit of a hardcore fan, you get right into, you know, the UMass and Valoria, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just, it changes all the time. So
Yeah. Well, Valoria is my favourite. So,
I love that song.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was Kimball's choice as well.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Yeah. The other day when I spoke to Kimball and Mandy.
Yeah.
So come on then. Give me one track.
One track.
Yeah.
Debaser.
Debaser. That's a
That's it.
good choice.
I'm running with that.
That is a very good choice. Nothing wrong with that at all. Debaser,
Okay.
great. It's written down now, so
Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah, it's written down on my little scrap of paper.
it's recorded in the history of
It
mankind. I
is. So
can't go
it's when
back
I
on
do
that.
my little links at the bottom of this post and that, I can put it on there, a link to the video. So
Oh,
yeah,
fantastic.
and also I'll forget as well by the end of this. So I've got a terrible memory. Terrible memory. So when you first heard "Where Is My Mind," was that around about the time that it was released, or did you have to go back into their back catalogue and sort of pick up with their earlier stuff? Do you remember?
It wouldn't have been long after it was released. Was that 89? Is that
Yeah,
Surfer Rosa? 88,
yeah,
89, around
yeah.
then?
88, 89. Yeah, Doolittle's 89.
So it would have been around 92. Not, hang on, wait a second. How old am I? No, so it must have been a while after it was released.
Okay, so after Bossa Nova as well, then.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
thinking if I was 18, it would have been about 94, 95.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how old I am? Yep, round about that.
So I didn't intend for you to reveal your age. My mum's always said you should never ask a lady her age.
Oh, I'm okay with that.
So you had a little bit of catching up to do then from the
I
earlier
did.
stuff.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I did. Very much so. But I caught up pretty quickly. And around that time I was living in a flat with friends of mine, and you know, we were young and we listened to a lot of music really loud.
Yeah.
And I had a friend called Tony, and so we always used to play Tony's theme when he came round. It was just like his introduction into the house.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I introduced a lot of my friends to Pixies as well. It was great. Have fond memories of those times.
And that was in Auckland, was it? Were you living at home?
No, that was up here actually in
Okay.
Whangarei.
Yeah.
Yep. So I lived up here. I moved up here when I was about 14.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And left here when I was about 22. I think I moved to
Okay.
Aussie.
So what's it like being a Kiwi in Australia then?
Um, yep, they hassle you about your accent, and it was
So yeah,
quite funny.
it's really hard, I think, for people in the northern hemisphere, if you like, to be able to actually distinguish between the two. Obviously I'm a bit more used to it now with living with Jordan and that, but
Yeah,
I still struggle sometimes. But I can pick it up better now. But yeah,
it's the eyes. The
yeah,
eyes you've got to watch out for. So we say like fish, and
yeah,
the Australians say fish.
yeah. Okay. And chops, things like
Fish and
that.
chips,
Yeah,
fish and chips,
yeah.
and yeah, it was quite funny when I first moved to Australia. I was working in a cafe, and I was serving fish and chips, and so that was a dead giveaway. People would
Okay.
order something, and I'd read it back to them, and they'd be like, "You're a Kiwi." It's like, mm-hmm. Yeah, but by the time I moved back here, everybody was like, "Oh, you sound like an Aussie," because I'd been over there for so long. So
Yeah. Well, everyone says that about Jordan when she goes home as well. They say, well, you know, what part of England are you from? So
oh, she's got a really strong English accent.
she does. And she can
Yeah,
do a far better Devonian accent than I can as well, which is quite worrying. But
it is a worry.
yeah, but so they pick up on the accent, but it's a friendly rivalry between the two countries, though, isn't it? Generally,
Generally speaking.
yeah.
Yep. Like,
Apart from when it gets to sport,
yeah. Apart from when it's rugby,
yeah,
cricket,
yeah,
rugby league,
hmm,
yeah, anything like that. But no, it's a good rivalry. So and I feel very very close to Australia. It's a great country to live in. It looked after me,
yeah,
for all those years. So
hmm,
I feel, and obviously my son's Australian, so
yeah.
we've got a real connection to Australia. So yeah.
Hmm. And so moving on through the Pixies career and now on to Frank Black's solo career. Are you a fan of his work?
I only really started actually listening to it after I went and saw them in 2018,
Hmm.
to be honest.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I didn't listen to it a lot before that. So I'm still making my way through that catalogue as well.
Sure.
Obviously it's massive.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It is.
I Teenager of the Year, yep, love it. So,
Yeah, it's
but
a
I'm
great
not
album.
as passionate about that, obviously,
Okay.
as Pixies. But yeah,
Hmm.
definitely a fan. It's definitely, you can hear the similarities, but you can, a lot of it's quite different as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Are
no.
you able to pick a favourite from his solo career? You knew I was going to ask you these questions, Gail.
Oh God, no.
Well, you've mentioned Teenager of the Year, so can you think of one off Teenager of the Year that you like?
Not really.
No,
Am I
we'll
getting
come back to it.
crucified?
That's fine. That's fine. Don't worry. What about the Catholics?
Haven't listened to it a lot,
Okay.
to be honest. No.
Okay.
Yeah, like I say, I'm still making my way through. Obviously, I downloaded everything on Spotify, and then I was like, okay, here's some light listening. And I was scrolling, and I was scrolling, and I was scrolling, and I was like, oh my goodness, like this
There's a
man has
lot.
so
There's a lot
much
to catch up on.
music.
Mm,
So,
I know.
and yeah, so I mainly listen to it when I'm driving.
Sure.
And to be fair, I haven't been driving a lot lately,
Well,
so
no,
I've
none
probably
of
only
us
got
have
about
really.
halfway through it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Okay.
yep, probably not as big a fan as the other people who've been interviewed.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I haven't really got into the Catholic stuff either, so I'm sort of just setting out now, and obviously some people are picking up on, or they're telling me what their favourite tracks and that are, so I'm listening to those and that as well. So I'm sort of slowly getting into it, but yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I loved Frank Black's first two albums, Frank Black and Teenager of the Year, which is a real
yeah,
favourite of mine. I think it's a great album and lots of great tunes on there. So
yeah, definitely,
so
definitely.
what other sort of music do you like then? If it's not
Oh, look, I'll
Pixies.
listen to anything, and that's one of the great things about being in the group, and someone actually posted it. I don't think it was in one of your interviews, but someone said it. Oh, I think it was Shanine said it the other day in the group, that one of the fantastic things about being in the group is that everybody suggests different music that you wouldn't normally listen to, and some of it I like, some of it I don't like, but that's the beauty of it, is that you have a listen. You go, oh, I haven't heard that before, and have listened to it. So I've listened to a lot of music that other people have suggested through the group. But look, I was brought up on a lot of country and western music. So, you know, Johnny Cash fan and things like that. You know, my parents, that's what my parents listened to when I was growing up. I'm a massive Cure fan. I got into the Cure before I'd heard the Pixies. So I've seen them quite, actually this is my mouth. So it's the Cure songbook.
Oh wow! Okay.
And it's quite old, but it's got like the lyrics to all their songs in it, and my friend gave this to me, I think when we were about for my 20th birthday. So this is quite an old book.
And a favorite Cure song?
Just Like Heaven.
Just Like Heaven. I'll stick that one on there as well then. A link to that one. Okay. And what's the music scene like in New Zealand?
What, sorry?
What's the music scene like in New Zealand?
It's good. It's a lot better than it used to be. But I say that, you know, even when I was growing up, you know, we'd go to pubs and there'd be live bands, and I have a lot of friends who play music and who are in bands, and it's a great scene. Yeah, probably very underrated. I mean, our local music probably doesn't get out into the world as far as it should, you know. So, but we're lucky here that there's so many talented singer-songwriters, you know, from here.
Yeah.
And I, you know, try and support local music. So, we don't have a lot of venues where I live for live music. We used to, and it was kind of one of those things that really suffered. And I don't even know why that is, Andrew. I'm not even sure what kind of happened, but nightlife suffered, and there's not a big nightlife where I live at all. So, and that live music scene kind of went with it. So, but yeah, we've got a lot of talented local artists. So yeah, very lucky.
But again, it's a trip down to Auckland if you want to see on a regular basis, if you want to go to music concerts.
Absolutely. Yeah. Any concerts like that. It is a trip, but I don't mind driving to go and see good music, you know. I think we went to we went to Guns N' Roses when they came out. Which was because my son loved them. So that was his first concert that he went to. So I went, and his dad and his dad's wife went as well. So we went as a family, and that was really cool.
Yeah. A good show, I'd imagine, that they put on.
It was.
Was that quite recently? Because my in-laws, they went to see Guns N' Roses. Was it last year or the year before?
It would have been maybe 3 years ago now.
Okay, possibly. Yeah, time does fly by. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was great, and it was outside, it was outdoors, and it was summer, and it was, you know, a sellout show. There's probably 20,000 people. Like, the atmosphere was amazing. Yeah, really, I really did enjoy it. And, you know, it's that old school glam rock thing.
No, well, whatever you think of the music, they're one of those sort of acts that would put on a great show anyway. So, you know, you can get something out of it, can't you? And I guess you said you lived in, how long were you in Brisbane for?
I was only in Brisbane for 2 years.
Oh, 2 years.
So,
Melbourne for 15.
Melbourne for 15. So Melbourne has, you probably already know, Melbourne has an amazing music scene. And I was lucky enough, when I was living there, my partner at the time played in a band. And so we were quite heavily involved in the local music scene at the time, and he was lucky enough to go off and do a tour around Europe with his band for a while, and
Wow.
so they were sort of quite well known by the time they came back, and they'd made an album and stuff. So yeah, that was a really cool time in my life.
What were they called?
They were called the Double Agents.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've not heard of them, but yeah.
There's an album hanging around somewhere.
Okay. I'll look them up after this.
Yeah. It was good. It's kind of like I don't want to say grunge. Yeah. Can't even describe them really, but yeah, they were really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And the more sort of recent work of the Pixies, how do you feel about that? Because it's very different from if you sort of think back to Come On Pilgrim and Surfer Rosa, and now through to Beneath the Eyrie. I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't want them to just keep producing the same sort of music and that all the time. But
No,
Beneath the Eyrie was a very different album, wasn't it?
It was, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It was a surprise. I don't know what I was expecting, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure what I was expecting. It was the same when Head Carrier came out. You know, I didn't quite know what to expect, and I actually am quite a big fan of Head Carrier.
Yeah, that's a good album.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. And then, yeah, I'm not sure, like I say, I'm not sure what I was expecting with Beneath the Eyrie, but I really, really did love it. Yeah.
And obviously you saw them on that tour as well, so.
Yeah, which was really cool seeing them play some of those songs live. And I guess, I don't know, I don't think they did a lot of shows before they came here on that tour, and then obviously they had to cancel, and that was kind of the end of it. So I think we were quite lucky that we did get to see them play some of those live.
Sure.
I feel very privileged, and it was really cool because you didn't know what they were going to play. And even when we'd gone from Auckland to Melbourne, and you kind of knew what the format of the show was, but you didn't know which new songs they were going to drop in there. So
it's only Charles who knows anyway, because he uses that little microphone to tell the rest of the band what the next track's going to be, I believe. So that's how they do it. They don't even have a set list that they've agreed before they go on stage. So it's literally just whatever Charles feels like singing.
Yeah, no, it was very cool. Very enjoyable. They're amazing to see live. Like this, I can't even describe. So different to listening to them, you know, on a record. Yeah, but definitely awesome.
Excellent. And you're looking forward to the next time that you can see them, whenever that may be. That's how we all feel.
I guess, I just don't know when that's going to be, or what's going to happen, or, you know, if they even were touring, that we'd be able to go and see them, being that we're so far removed from everybody else. And I don't even know when we're going to be able to go to Australia next, to be honest.
No, I know.
You know, at least with you guys, you can sort of move internally. You've got a bit more freedom.
Not really. It's not really at the moment. Certainly, but I think Australia, they're talking about sort of mid-December, aren't they? I think before they're even going to think about opening the international or the borders. So
the
flights and things like that. So I mean, there's going to be a pressure for Christmas, isn't there, for people and that? So you know, all around the world, it's going to be a huge pressure for governments to open up the borders.
But you don't kind of want to undo all the good work that's been done.
No, exactly.
Either, you know, like I'd love for my son to be able to come home for Christmas. You know, I think that's a frustrating thing as well, as I don't know. I mean, thank goodness for, you know, video chatting and stuff like that. So I can see how many chins he's growing, and while he's been in lockdown and not going out and playing football anymore and things like that. But
are you eating properly, all that sort of thing? And the usual thing that mums do.
Yeah, he's been quite amusing actually, because he never used to cook when he lived at home, and now he's bloody master chef. He says, Gordon fucking Ramsay. That's what he calls himself because he's.
I think that's what
yeah.
Gordon Ramsay calls himself as well.
Yeah, but which is really cool. It's nice to watch him blossom and, you know, be independent and yeah, kind of become this adult that he wasn't when he was living at home. So it is nice, but I'd like to be able to see him at some stage. So
Of course.
Fingers crossed.
Of course. Right, yeah. I'm going to ask you for one more track, and it can be from anyone at all, because we've only got two. We've got Debaser, and I'm going to put up Just Like Heaven. So I like to do three. So if you can think of one track which is important to you in your life, it can be something iconic or just something from childhood, whatever. Can you think of something?
One track?
Yeah, just one more track that I can put the video for. I know I'm putting you on the spot now. You can choose another Pixies track if you want to.
Yep, no, I'm going to go with another Pixies track. Cool. I think I am going to go with Gigantic.
Gigantic, okay. Brilliant. Another great choice.
Thank you.
So you're obviously you're a fan of Kim as well, then.
I am,
yeah.
But I am Team Paz, I must say. If I had to choose, if it was life or death, and you were going to shoot me if I didn't choose one, I think I'd have to choose Paz. I love her energy. I think she's just brought so much to the band. I think she's invigorated them.
Absolutely.
She's so cool. She's just so cool.
She is very cool.
I want to be Paz when I grow up.
She's super cool in a super cool band.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, doesn't get much cooler than that, really, does it?
It doesn't, indeed. No.
Yeah, no, I definitely. I mean, I love all the old Kim stuff, but I just think Paz has taken it to another level. So yes, that's my thought on.
Brilliant.
Yep, deal or no deal.
And a good way to end our conversation. Gail, it's been absolutely delightful to speak to you.
It's been wonderful talking to you. It's so nice to meet someone out of the group finally.
Yeah, well, that's what's special about this group, is that we can all meet up and, you know, even though we can't physically be together at the moment, we can do things like this and learn a little bit about each other and spend some quality time together. So thank you so much for your time. It's been great to meet you. And next time we get over that way, hopefully I will make it to New Zealand and maybe come and meet up with you.
Fantastic. And you've always got somewhere to stay here as well.
Bless you. Thank you very much indeed. You take care.
All right.
Thank you, Gail. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.